Steve, Kara, and I at Riptide LLC love knowing you. We are so excited to work with Gotham Building, based in New York City. We met through the New York City Chamber, and we love working with you. So here we are today. We thank you so much for joining us. And I'd love to chat with you a little bit about Gotham Building.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I think we've become pretty good friends. Happy that we got connected to the New York Chamber, and I'm happy that you reached out to me. I typically don't take phone calls, but something said to me that this is a good opportunity, and here we are. Thank you for having me.
Mike, Steve has a very long history and background expertise, not just in the building arena, but definitely overlapping in the real estate world, construction, and many other different sectors. He's phenomenal. He is very down to earth. He works with all different kind of folks in the building and construction and real estate world. And we're driving some notoriety and revenue with Steve.
I think it would be great for Steve to just tell us what Gotham Building is all about, what the company does, and who they like to work with.
So Gotham Building, we are a project management company. We work primarily for the project owner or the person paying for the project, could be a lender or investor. And we take them from the very beginning of the project, could be site selection, budgeting, all through design, planning, bidding, contracting, selecting the right contractors, of course, is very important. And throughout the construction phase, making sure that everything is coordinated and we bridge that gap and basically just drive the project's momentum and everyone walks away happy. We hit that goal of being on time and on budget, which is not common, but it's certainly possible. That's the goal, and I enjoy doing it.
How long have you been in the industry, and talk about your background and what got you started doing what you're doing today?
I started, I started in 2000 at Jersey Institute of Technology, got a degree in architecture in 2004, and started a bridge program for engineering management degree. However, when I got into the workforce, I found being on site and coordinating, the actual building was much more fun. And that's where I spent my time working for general contractors, construction managers, design builders, and developers on various different projects over 20 years plus. And it ranges from data centers to conversions to landmark properties, fit outs. Except for schools and hospitals, I think I've had my hand in most other types of projects.
How do you find business? I'm curious. Do they find you, or do you have to go out there kind of networking and looking for it?
That's a great question. I'm not one who likes to be sold. And I also don't like when people waste my time. So what I do is I network and I listen. And that's where I find the right people where I can provide solutions. We live in a built environment. Everybody is affected by construction. And if it's not a new build or renovation, it's maintenance. So I'm aware of that, and I know the ins and outs. And what I like to do is help people, because you don't know what you don't know. And too many people go down the wrong road, and I hate to see that. A lot of my business, I'd say most of my business, comes from referrals, and it's usually when things go wrong. And I hate to see it, but that's when they, realize that things are not going to end up where they, let's say, were promised or wanted.
That's when they realize they should have called Steve and Gotham Building first.
Being proactive, and it just saves a lot. It saves so much time and money. You're investing in your future. So the money up front is money well spent. You got to know what you're doing to get into it. And then, like I said, get the right people to do it. When everybody's building, which is constantly going on, resources are limited. Now you want the right people, it's always going to be a fight for resources, and you got to find them. And then you got to make sure they're going to do the right job, and everybody's got to get along.
I know you've got your passion, your why behind your work. I love learning more and more about that. What other things will set you apart and do set you apart in the New York market or up and down the East Coast? We're looking into working with folks, obviously, beyond New York City and tri-state area. What sets you apart compared to the other folks out there? I'd love to hear that.
I think number one is my passion or obsession, because once you start a project, it doesn't stop. I mean, it's a full on activity. And once you start going through getting into a project, you are mentally putting it together in your head, and it's always there. So as you're putting this together, you're thinking of how one thing is going to affect the other. So it's not just about this is my role and this is what I have to do, and then it's the rest of somebody else's, which is how the industry is separated. Putting it all together and putting your cards out there and being transparent and open is one way that I know is not common. And I think it's the best way to do it. I mean, that's how projects, you have to work together. So collaborating with good people and understanding what is realistic when we're putting budgets together and putting drawings together and, getting the right resources and other stuff. There's a million things that go into a project, people and logistics are the two biggest risks to a project going the wrong way.
Those two pillars, those two topics, people and logistics, are the two risks.
It's very different than, I always say it's not like placing an order online. You got to bring everybody, whatever they're bringing to the table, to one specific place. So you really have to manage where everyone's going to be throughout that project. So you're thinking three-dimensionally, but also over time. And that thought process I know started back when I was in architecture school, and I still love architecture, but I like solving problems too. And there's plenty of problems out there.
Well, I mean, you're unusual because you bring that depth and like problem solving and intelligence about humans, like a lot of the other industries that I've observed or worked in, people think it's just a nuts and bolts thing, or you can go through the motions and you can accomplish things. And it's much, much more than that. And I find the people that have that, kind of depth and grasp about, like you said, bringing the right people into the project, looking at, the logistics, or looking at other phases and other things that would impact the project, because then I think you can nail it much better when you do that.
Right. That's exactly it. So now you know the secret.
Yeah. So that's your secret sauce, and I absolutely love it.
Steve, first of all, you made me laugh earlier when you said it was your passion, and then you corrected yourself and said, actually, it's my obsession. So I thought that was great. Technology these days, I know a lot of people that are service providers, CPAs, bookkeepers, and because of technology, they're able to actually work with clients across the country and across the world. You're more brick and mortar construction project overseeing and things like that. You're based in the New York City area. Are you kind of limited to that area, or do you do projects nationwide?
Technology is a great thing. It's always a tool, and certainly technologies that have been beneficial throughout my career, specifically, Zoom and 3D scanning and just talking on the phone sometimes. So I'm able to, even though I'm based in New York, I've worked, in Florida and California, Toronto. I mean, there's no borders.
Okay, good. So somebody on the West Coast hears this or sees this, they know, hey, I can at least have a conversation with Steve, and he might be the guy I need to partner with.
Correct. And it could be a very simple conversation. Could just be about the process. It's the basics that are typically glazed over.
Let's be sure to get out your contact information. I see your email is Straub, Straub at gothambuilding.com. The website, which is probably the most important thing for people that want to kind of learn more about your company, would be gothambuilding.com.
For 2025, Steve, what's on the horizon? What are goals? What are new areas perhaps to penetrate?
I do live and work in New York. What I'm focused on in this region, which also affects the rest of the country, is the commercial real estate problems. I know in New York, there's a rezoning of Midtown South, which I've been following and working with to get this done right. So that's an exciting
development.
It's an exciting development that involves, rezoning, which has not been done since like the 1960s. So it is just so long overdue, where you have this wasted space. You know how expensive real estate is in New York? I mean, it's a sin to waste space for, an outdated law. So I do see that being a benefit to the economy and to these building owners. And when you add residential or replace these outdated manufacturing buildings with residential, then you're creating this 24-hour community, which is going to be safer. It's going to bring in more money, more foot traffic. It's just, there's so many wins there.
Yes, yes, yes. Honor to know you, Steve. I love working with you, Kara and I, and we're excited for what we're going to propel forward. Can't thank you enough for your time here.
I love the passion. Again, the website would be gothambuilding.com.
Thank you so very much, Steve. Thank you, Mike. We'll chat with you very soon.
Thank you for having me.